Alright everyone, and the new tier is upon us, Antorus the Burning Throne, and as such I'll be doing a new series of Mythic commentary videos from a Fury perspective. These will be basically where I go over talents, trinket selection, legendary selection, and generally how I approach the fight from a progression standpoint. Hopefully giving you some tips on how you can do DPS, pointing out where I've gone wrong, and such and the like. And the first one we have is Mythic Garothi Worldbreaker. It's a fairly simplistic fight, especially for warriors, because generally we're not really assigned with soak jobs. There's a few soak jobs, but apart from that, it's literally just going to be DPSing and a little bit of movement here and there. So talent selection, I'll be going with Endless Rage, Double Time, Avatar, Bounding Stride, Frothing Berserker, Bloodbath, and Reckless Abandon. I'm running 2-piece tier 21 and 2-piece tier 20, which actually seems higher than 4-piece tier 20, and it means that Bloodbath then comes into being a decent talent, mainly because of the way it synergizes with the 2-piece. And I'll also be using the Soul of the Battle Lord legendary ring to give me Massacre, which again interacts nicely with Bloodbath and the 2-piece. There are 2 adds to kill throughout the fight, so that would proc War Machine. However, I've gone with Endless Rage because immediately after killing those adds, I say adds, they're big cannons, but you have to come out of melee range, get a safe distance, so you really lose uptime on the very small window of the buff that you already have. You know, you only get it procced twice over the course of the entire fight. My trinket selection is pretty simple. I'm using Umbral Moonglaves and Convergence of Fates. I don't really have any other options for a decent single target alternative for Umbral Moonglaves, so I'm just sticking with it basically. I don't have an Arcano or anything like that. And what a surprise, Convergence of Fates is still our best trinket, even after the nerfs from 4 seconds per proc to 3 seconds per proc. Legendary selection, I'll be going for Valajar Berserkers and Soul of the Battle Lord. So Soul of the Battle Lord being the class ring, giving me Massacre, which has really nice synergy with the talent Bloodbath, as well as the 2-piece and the 4-piece if I had it. Unfortunately, I don't. And then obviously the legs giving me Rage during the rampages, again synergizing well with the sub 20% kind of execute phase with all those things combined. It's a 5-minute, ours was 5 minutes 24 seconds to kill at the end, so there's definitely good time there to get executes off. So starting off the pull, we're going to be doing the standard kind of single target opener with glaives. That's including Old War. Now the priority has changed somewhat now that I'm using 2-piece, and the Bloodbath talent. So you'll be charging, pop your CDs, Rampage, Odin's Fury, Bloodthirst, Rampage again if you can, and then Rage and Blow, Bloodthirst, and hopefully Rampage again. Basically you want to be getting as many Rampages in the Battlecry window as possible. It's not so important for me personally at the moment because I haven't got the 4-piece, however it's a good practice to get into. So what we're doing as the raid, we are dropping the decimations on the right hand side so that the melee only have to move a tiny bit to the left and stay in melee range. And this boss is really just about keeping good uptime on the boss, keeping a clean rotation, soaking where possible if you have to. But for myself, I'm not assigned any soak jobs, so I'm just genuinely going to be keeping an eye out for if I need to leap anywhere to, you know, save something exploding, or whether I can just tunnel the boss really. So again, decimation on me, but making sure to try and stay in melee range, because there's loads of time to move out, and as you see, there's loads of room on the left-hand side for the rest of the melee to stack without being on the decimation, but whilst keeping yourself in melee range and just keeping uptime on the boss. So there's soak, so I'm just looking around to see the soak, see if anything needs covering, which it doesn't. So again, just keep going. And there's not a lot really going on with this boss, so there's not really a lot for me to kind of go over for you. You will see a pretty harrowing mistake later on, as well as a really piss poor execute phase. So CDs, I'm just going to use them as they come up. I'm not going to bother waiting for the cannon to spawn. I think you're going to end up holding them too long. You're going to lose out on potential Battlecry resets, and generally I just don't think it's going to be worth. So when the decimator's up, I'm going to be cleaving that using 2-target cleave. So basically keeping Bloodthirst on cooldown, whirlwinding in between Bloodthirst, and making sure to cleave with it and getting 1 Massacre proc there. Now leaping out immediately to get away from the eradication. In fairness, I could probably wait a second or 2 longer, but I just decided I'd play it safe, get out nice and safe, and charge back in. Again, CD's off cooldown, just going to use them straight away, keep going into the boss. Going to take that soak because I'm there and it's easy and it makes it look like I'm doing something. Again, there's really just nothing much more to go over. You just got to keep a nice, clean, single target rotation going, good uptime. And you notice with the cannon earlier, that's kind of why I said that War Machine wasn't worth taking, because by the time you get the buff, you get a couple of GCDs off, but then you have to move out, and then by the time you get back in, you've wasted like a third of that 15-second buff. So it's just, in my mind, really not worth it. Endless Rage is just much more reliable and really comes into its own in sub 20%. I'm looking at my time to kill timer there, which is 2.5 minutes still, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my next avatar. Ideally, you want to be, if you've got avatar off CD and you can see you've only got a minute or a minute and a half left of the fight, you don't want to be using it, but we've got ages left. Just going to use it with glaives and just keep chugging away at the damage. Just keeping the uptime again. See, nothing really to go over. During the phase where you get stunned with the decimation on, we will all stack on green. So then when the stuns come in, they'll all drop there and we just move to the left onto yellow and just keep going. There's the decimation stuns coming in, moving out straight away. And the next Annihilator has spawned, and quite fortunately I've got Battlecry back ready for it, and Odin's Fury, which is quite nice. There's a nice bit of extra damage, just making sure I cleave my Bloodthirst and Rampages. And there's a big fuck up coming up in a minute, and I've seen the line and it's the wrong way, and I've tried to strafe left and then I suddenly realised I'm in totally the wrong position. Tried to leap out and it's fractionally too late, and I've died, which is just really not that good, and I'm going to lose quite a bit of time here because they're waiting until after the AoE's gone off. So I've got raised, but I've dropped, I've dropped a fair bit on the meter, which is unfortunate. And after that, I think I've just become a bit kind of flustered, so I'm going to help soak that because it's in melee range. And as I was explaining with Avatar earlier, it's come off cooldown. We've only got 1 minute 40 left of the fight, and I haven't checked that, and I've used it, and now it's very unlikely it's going to be back for execute. Using the ring and bloodbath, your damage is really, you have to time your last battle cry and your last avatar really quite perfectly to get really seriously good numbers. It's not the end of the world. I've used my pot with that avatar. That's the right thing to do. However, I should have not used the avatar. I should have just gone battle cry and bloodbath, just carried on with some damage. And I spend a lot of time in this execute phase waiting for the right moment to use battle cry and try and get that last bit of damage off, and I just don't do it very well, unfortunately. In my heroic videos I posted, it works out really well. Sometimes you see me rocket up, but I'm waiting for that last 5%, because you want the last battle cry to be in the last 5% of the boss when you've got the most amount of juggernaut stacks and you can get some massive damage off. However, I get crit starved on my executes any minute now, and I just can't get a massacre off. I want to go into Battlecry already enraged, when I probably should have just Battlecry, bloodthirsted, and then started executing. So I popped it way too late there. I've only got 2 GCDs off, and I've really suffered for it. Damage really not being what it should have been there. So I'm quite disappointed in that, but hopefully you've seen how not to time your last avatar incorrectly. You should be holding on to it until the last 10% into your last battle cry, and then you do some good damage. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that and picked up some bits, whether it's how not to time your last battle cry and avatar, and how not to dodge the big lines of death. And the next boss, Mythic Fellhounds, doesn't go too much better, but take a look and hopefully you'll pick up some bits. You can catch me on my stream on Coburn_25. Otherwise, catch you on the next one. Cheers.